Jim his advice for us, and the opportunity to get back there and talk to Stephen and Scott, and it was really valuable because there's probably some things that hasn't been said tonight that can make a difference for this board, I think. You know, one concern of mine has always been that, and I think it has been expressed tonight from our board, is just we wish we had a food component there with what we're doing. And there is a food component vision there with Tennessee Hills, which will help complement and I think help some of the issues dissipate. And I think that's been the plan before we came here tonight. We just didn't express it. So having a food component there, I think, alleviates some of my own concerns. And I appreciate Scott and Stephen, thinking big. I think they're thinking about growing the business there at the Tennessee Hills area. I think the combination of that and some of the other things that's been spoken, I think our board's got a chance to kind of move forward and take advantage of that, and in 6 months evaluate everything, and then 6 months after that, and I think the food component I think is important, and I'll let the alderman maybe speak to that if that alleviates some temporary concerns. I know we got more things than that, but that's to me that's a big one that wasn't expressed tonight, and it's something we probably should take into account. Alderman, anything you would like to add, please? All right. Glenn, you're one that made a recommendation. I'd love to hear what your opinion of all this is and how this impacts our town.
Sure. So, looking at the permit, I looked at it based on the criterias. One, when it talks about considering an outdoor use permit, it talks about historic zoning has approved the furniture materials. Schematic is provided, showing the location of furniture materials. Also, in this case, posts with chains, proof of liability insurance, including listing the town as other insured and a signed hold harmless agreement. Inspection of any furniture materials by building inspector to ensure that the items used are structurally sound and safe. And then review of the specific layout of any furniture materials, sign used to ensure there's remaining adequate pedestrian access down the sidewalk, including wheelchair accessibility. So historic zoning had approved the appearance as far as, if you want to say, furniture materials. Basically, black metal tables with wooden tops, spent bourbon barrels that acts as the boundary with black chain. One thing I did make of note was there was a couple different options presented. One was talking about the sidewalk not having an extensive use, just where it's located on the one side of the street. And my notation there is, despite that the sidewalk remain free and clear or become the buffer between the roadway and the outdoor use area. So there's about a little bit less than 6 feet separating where a car would be and if someone was actually sitting in the area. And their application and information provided the strategic locations of those tables and chairs, and based on the application showing where they located, that's where it would have to be, so they wouldn't be able to redesign it as such. We also made sure, of course, like the last one, was that there was pedestrian way and ADA accessibility. Also, to say of note, it's not been it's been discussed quite a bit as far as the whether there be noise or actions on the outside. One of the thoughts, just meeting the criteria, the other part was the board controls approving the boundary and the use. If that use is abused, then the same board that offers the approval is the same ones that can suspend or revoke. That was the position I was looking at. If there's, just like anybody else, if there's an issue going on, then it's this board's authority to suspend or revoke. Not sure about, whether or not there's any, accidents or anything like that, but that's what I looked at. There's been a couple other different places that have, I guess, gone to historic zoning, didn't have the sidewalk. I think Gigi's came to mind. I think they had applied not too long ago. That was one example. They didn't have enough space for that pedestrian way just because the sidewalk isn't as wide. They're not technically a restaurant, but they never made it to the board because of the pedestrian part. So I looked at the criterias in my analysis and narrative I provided to where they met those criteria.
All right. Alderman, I guess what's our pleasure? Do we want to digest what we've heard tonight, and we've got a meeting scheduled on the 19th, come back and address it then, and gives us a chance to think about the the food component and some of the other things, or chance to discuss it with staff more? Do we want to table it till the 19th, or do we want, what's your wishes? We do have a motion and a second, but board, what's your wishes?
Yeah, I would like to table it.
Okay. All right. Any other alderman would like to
I
table?
think it's important when you say issues, what's an issue? Picking your nose wouldn't be an issue.
I would say complaints about noise that's affecting a citizen or really anybody around there of any violation of our anti-noise ordinance.
What about intoxicated?
I would say that would be a law enforcement matter, so yes, that would be anybody that is violating any of our code, any of our ordinances would be, basically found in violation of any of our codes. Recently, we had an issue, I know, with music on the square and another business, and an officer stepped in and went over to that other business and said, we have a special event going on, and it, as far as I know, it was I think it was peaceful. I just found out about that the other day, but again, I guess it was addressed rather than just ignoring it and thinking it'll go away. So I think a lot of these issues can't think that it's just gonna go away. It has to be addressed, there has to be conditions, there has to be boundaries. I think if it's just like those barrels in that chain, hate to say it, provides a physical boundary, I think behavior, either way, good or bad, also has to provide that boundary as well. Police can't be out there all the time. It's just not possible. If someone calls, a citizen or anybody that's driving by and calls about a violation, that's our responsibility as far as police department to respond. And that's one of the big things is we have to, when we respond and it's occurring, there could be a violation, in my opinion. The hard part sometimes is that maybe there's a call, you come around and it stops, right? But again, I feel strong about whether it's this matter or not, that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen have authority in certain regards to different permits that we provide, to be able to measure those, whether that's performance, whether that's, I think trust is great, but I think measurable is more of performance and violations, and then being able to assess it and say, it's working out okay, or it's not working out okay, and Mr. Rosenoff, you put it on the next agenda, and we're gonna discuss it in open meeting, if there's issues. Not anything just, made up, things that are actually occurring. I think about it a lot of times on property maintenance. It takes a while, there's an issue, and then there's a due process that we take for a property maintenance violation. It might take us a little bit of time to get to cleaning up a property or what have you, but there is a due process approach to it which is, again, the creation of the ordinances by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen provide a due process of adopting an ordinance is the same thing as amending it or addressing it, that there's some deficiencies in it.
Okay, thanks, Glenn. Did that help clarify anything for folks? Adam, you like you wanting to speak?
I support the idea of tabling to the next meeting. I think that this board wants to see success. This board wants to move forward. We want to see great opportunities in Jonesborough. So if we can table, come back, deliberate, and hopefully move forward.
That good with you, Virginia? You made the motion. Is it good with you withdraw your motion?
She would not necessarily have to withdraw her motion for
Okay.
there to be a table. You just need to motion to table it to the August 19th meeting, and then her motion would come back up, but it would not require her to.
Okay.
to withdraw.
So we've got a motion to table it till the August 19th called meeting. I think, Adam, is that a second on your part? All right. Any discussion on that? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder?
Well, no, may we send, I mean, I would like to know what we're gonna, to just discuss again next time. I think it would be good for the aldermen to share with Glenn concerns so that
Oh, yeah.
issues are well-defined and what we expect is well-defined.
Well, that's, yeah, during this period, that's a chance for the staff to,
I would absolutely agree. I think if you talk to even Mr. Ford and myself, whether it's the utilities or whether it's water, so whatever the issue is, we have to clearly define what we're talking about. As
Yeah.
you said, picking your nose versus, but I'm saying pick versus
Versus-
alcohol use and
Or
such.
open container,
Just
drinking in the
the-
parking
to
lot.
properly define and address the definition of those issues or subject matters.
So we should send you a list of any issues.
Yes, you can email it to me or we can simply talk. I can be happy to meet with each person individually if that's easier to just talk.
Yeah.
I'm more than willing to do whatever you need me to do.
so Jim,
Well,
what's
Mr. Mayor, I'm going
Yeah.
to advise you all that, you know, you, again, and I'm sorry to have to go this, but the specter's been raised of litigation. I would suggest that you may need to funnel those through your legal counsel so that I can look at those confidentially and talk with you individually about what you may or may not want them to ask or send to the town administrator.
Sounds fair. Now, do we need to take a vote on tabling this?
Yes.
And-
Was there a motion and a second?
Well, I think Terry made a motion, and I think Adam's willing to second it, so we need to take a vote on that. and-
Yes, sir.
Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Calamine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Causey. Can I ask a,
Sure.
can I ask a question?
Yes.
Is, Mr. Andrews and Mr. Callahan okay with tabling it until the 19th?
I think we discussed that was one of the possibilities.
Okay.
And to me, that's the best part. Okay.
We were always planning on putting a food truck there as part of why we bought the parcel table. We already bought a 20-foot trailer from Johnson City. They're a lot easier to work with. We're gonna need to do an 18-foot trailer and all this came up, that's on the city property, so we gotta go through a lot more rigor for us to even have a food truck slash trailer, because they have one booked almost every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they don't show up. So it hurts us. So we're doing one, we're gonna make one, we've already trademarked the typical distillery and whiskey kitchen, and it's a food truck that's gonna do sliders and fries. And I'd like it to be up there tomorrow. We're upfitting it, we hired the kitchen manager from Firehouse Restaurant to oversee the food prep. He's the one who was testing all the equipment and parts and table today. And we're gonna get that done as quick as we can, because we want it. But I thought you would all be voting
Yeah.
table on it, just, our business was off about 56% from a month. We can prove what it does to the business to not have that component. And that's why I said there's a legal basis. Because I can show damages. And if Zach wants to be open till 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday serving drinks and beer, he can. And that person doesn't have to buy a sandwich or a bite of food. Now, the point in there isn't to take something away from Zach, it's just to apply your regulations equally to all businesses that are asking for it.
All right, well, what we have before us is a motion and a second, and we're gonna need to take a vote one way or the other unless somebody wants to rescind another, a motion. So the vote before us now is whether we want to delay this decision. That's our prerogative, and if it's not acceptable to the applicant, then we'll cross that bridge.
Roll call.
But if we want to, if
No.
gentlemen want to take a vote tonight, we can. We'd have to rescind our motion, but
Have we already voted on the table?
no. No, we got a motion and a second, and we're waiting on Virginia, but then we've not called for the vote
You're
yet.
setting me up again. You and Craig. Right.
We didn't vote?
No, I think we're thinking about Virginia.
Okay, the 19th is 10 days. So I'll go ahead and vote yes.
Okay. All right, we've got a motion, second, and so we got the positive vote, motion carried. We're gonna come back on the 19th and, what's that, Jim?
I'm sorry, Mayor, if I've missed it, there's gotta be a roll call vote.
Pretty sure we did, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
I don't,
Did we do a roll call?
I
Everybody-
think we called for a
expressed an
vote. We had a
opinion.
positive, and Virginia hesitated, wanted to say something
I'm
first.
sorry, excuse me. Yeah.
You know, it gives us, this was a lot to digest, I think, tonight, and it's probably such an important decision, we do need to digest on it a little bit, and come back on the 19th and make a definitive decision. All right? That motion carries, so we'll hopefully address this in about 10 days. Now, let's see where we're at. Now we're going to move to discussion and possible action concerning first reading of an ordinance of the Town of Jonesborough, Tennessee, adopting the annual general fund, solid waste fund, and drug fund budgets, and setting the property tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021, and ending June 2022. There was just some things in here, Glenn, that maybe y'all can look at as you put it together for your second reading. I think we're going to have, I think I saw them somewhere, you can correct me if I'm wrong, about 170,000 in unappropriated funds.
Yeah,
Great to have that, that's a luxury, but I wouldn't mind seeing if the aldermen will end up supporting it, is to spend a little time looking at some of these nonprofits like the Washington County Library, our Heritage Alliance, and some of these nonprofits that we've given money to over the years, but our amount that we've given has remained the same. I think the Heritage Alliance, $45,000, it's been that long, that much for a while. The library was $13,500. Can we not go to $15,000, it's a $1,500 increase for the library, and maybe go up $5,000 for the Heritage Alliance? See if, as you put your budget together, if there's some things that maybe our board would want to do there. That's my request in that.
And Mr. Mayor, I know I've sent out an email before also, is we haven't looked at our pay plan since, I think it's 2008. I mean, we've been applying it, in the best
Right.
way we can, but that's also something to throw out as far as especially the lower paid employees, and then the different, all the way up to the directors to try and perform a good comprehensive look at where we're at, and in particular how competitive we are in the region. We have many talented people at whatever pay range and experience, and we're a very poachable town, meaning other people see our different talents and experience and oftentimes look at Jonesborough the same way they do on tourism or economic development or downtown merchants or the corridors. They look at our employees as well, so I promise to do that as well, to study that.
Yeah, one little thing I thought kind of ties into that, but I know you're going to look at it, take a comprehensive look at, all of our pay, and which is great. One little simple thing, if it was every year to do it, it's at grade 1. We have about 7 or 8 employees in that grade 1, which is really a very, very low full-time salary. We could almost eliminate that bottom grade totally. It's not going to affect anybody because there's nobody in grade 2 except one vacant position. So we almost can move everybody in grade 1 to grade 2, and then we can do that comprehensive look. But it really helps those 7 or 8, mostly public works workers, get a bump in pays.
And if anybody has any ideas on that, item, you can email me directly and we can talk about it. There's gonna be different ideas, but just to say back in the day when someone say fast food, I can make more money per hour working in fast food back, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. I had fast food managers, I'd say, is that true? They'd say no. I mean, the
Yeah.
benefits are different. And now there's that gap to where someone, if I called today, might say, well, yeah, with all those benefits, they're getting closer.
Yeah,
So
wow.
it's, we should pride ourselves on building that gap. It's not saying anything about fast food restaurant, but we got, we have guys and gals in ditches and
It's tough work.
sub-zero weather and to look at what they do, and especially CDLs and some things that some folks can't pass a CDL or
Yeah.
get their CDL.
Always the problem's been if we eliminated a grade like 1 or 2 is that there was somebody right above that, well, they'd have to bump.
Correct.
This is kind of a unique year when I looked at it. We got a big gap between 1 and 4. We don't have, I think, hardly anybody in 3. There's nobody in 2. So if we want to make that adjustment, it's not going to be very costly because it's not going to affect too many people, but it gets us started in that direction. So if you can look at that and give our board something to think about.
Are we gonna do that before second reading?
Ma'am,
Are we doing that before second reading on the pay for the employees?
I'll try.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I saw that look.
so
Oh, hello?
We're just looking at moving those people, not eliminating that one.
Well, if
I'd have to look at,
Yeah.
if you go from 1 to 2, and it's just,
well, and Ted,
talking out loud about it is hard because it's personal to think about. It's not just about math, it's about their longevity or their experience.
yeah, there's not much in
But
terms of
we'll look
steps and
at-
all that. It
We'll look
doesn't-
at that definitely.
Yeah, and the way I think, if you eliminate the bottom 2, then you've got 18 grades. So then at that point, 20 becomes 18.
I think, and
It's-
Mr. Ford and I
yeah.
have talked about to where at some point your 1 should have been
Yeah.
higher over time, and then I'm just saying if it was $11 or $12 versus $10, it's over time we've got to move that up, and then there's times where if I'm saying a general laborer is also has skills in certain areas, then those grade 1s is no longer the old grade 1, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's the more updated grade 1 or 2 or 3.
At one point, I had talked with Mr. Ford about a plan that he had on eliminating those bottom few, but also bringing our employees like 5% instead of just the 3%. Because me being a former employee, I have to really be careful because I don't want to see somebody in grade 1 go to grade 4 or 5. And then you've got somebody in grade 5 that has been there for 5 years, and you're giving them the same thing. I think that what I had talked with Mr. Ford it's been a long time ago, but anyway, it would be a fair movement for the employees. So I think if you all got together and got that plan and brought it back to us.
And just to say out loud is, with the unappropriated funds, it gives
Right.
us an ability to look and study. And I guess I'm more to studying it and looking at the big picture of how long someone been here. Someone else moves up, or the exact same pay, but they feel real good about, I've been here 1 year and 4 years and they're making the same pay, but everybody would be happy. And I think human nature is oftentimes they see it differently. Most of the time it's, at the bottom you're talking about pay and shelter, and then at the top of the pyramid, at the top, that's your benefits and such. So we have great benefits, and depending on where you are in life, pay is more important than benefits until you get to that point in life to where, wait a minute, benefits are really important. So we'll look at it. That's when I say comprehensively. I can't guarantee I can have a comprehensive thought process within 10 days, but I'll do my best to at least outline some
Outline,
options.
yeah, an outline would be
Yeah.
good.
All right, Alderman, any other comments you want to direct to staff? Okay, if not, I'll take a motion to approve that recommendation on first reading. That's approving ordinance number B-21-01, adopting the annual budget for general fund, solid waste fund, and drug fund, and setting the tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021, and ending June 30th, 2022, and that tax rate remains the same.
So moved.
Motion to approve from Alderman Countermine,
I'll second, Mayor.
a second from Alderman Dixon. Any other discussion? Call for vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Carmine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Ah,
All right, that carried. Now, next item on the agenda is discussion of possible action concerning first reading of an ordinance establishing garbage and refuge collection fees for fiscal year 2021 and 22. I think y'all had a good write-up in there. I like the fact that we're putting money aside for equipment, a good healthy amount of money. We also got just a little bit of surplus planned there, which is good. I just have one comment about that. We looked at the fee basically for our residents because we're having to start a recycling program that's going to cost us money versus using inmates. Did we look at the commercial side on the dumpster pickups and look at that as an avenue of increasing revenue there? It seems like that should be something you look at too, and maybe there's a marriage you have there. Either if it's good to increase the rates on a resident, seems like that should be the same thing on the commercials, and then maybe if you do that, it might be a little less of an increase for the residents.
Not at first reading, but I can
Yes. If
provide.
you'll look
a-
at that, I think I'm not sure how much revenue comes in from a
Provide
commercial
an
side.
analysis. It's decent. Typically with a commercial, you're talking about more than one pickup per week.
Yeah, I saw that and I think, man, that's probably a big inconvenience for our department there. And so, we're at 45 for 2 dumpsters sharing 1 dumpster. I don't know why we wouldn't go up about 10% to $50. Same thing, 1 dumpster is pick it up once a week. It's right now 90. We could go to 100. Just see what that little 10% increases add up to be and see if that helps us. $180, you go to 200, 270 to 300, and then I'm not sure who does 4 dumpsters once a week, but that's, we might have that. If we do, that's $400. That's my thoughts. And then maybe we can be a little less for our residents.
I'll provide an analysis. of it.
Okay, Alderman, any other comments from you guys or things you'd like to see from, in that area? If not, I'll take a motion to approve that recommendation, which is to approve ordinance number B-21-02, setting the garbage collection fees within the town of Jonesborough on first reading.
so moved.
Second.
Motion to approve from Alderman Causey, a second from Alderman Countermine. Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Now moving on to discussion and possible action concerning first reading of an ordinance establishing water and sewer rates for fiscal year 2021-22.
Yes. Yes.
Mayor, that one, you need to read the caption on it. It captures a little bit more than that.
Okay, we're an ordinance establishing water and sewer rates to provide the necessary funds for the operation, maintenance, and debt service of the Jonesborough water and sewer systems. It's a great system for us. And anything there we need to address, Glenn, or
Just that there's no change.
no
in-
changes? All right, Alderman, what's your pleasure there?
Okay.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve from Alderman Countermine,
I'll second, Mayor.
second from Alderman Dixon. Call for vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Countermine.
Aye.
Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan.
Aye.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
All right, that motion carried. And one thing, just touching on that, grade 1, I think 6 of those employees were in our water side, and that's,
Yeah, there's
the
quite a few.
healthiest fund we have, so.
Yeah, it's not helped us in employing.
Too
or
much turnover
Either
down there,
employing
yes.
or them showing up or staying, so.
Yeah.
All right,
gotta look
discussion and
something.
possible action concerning approval of the fiscal year 2021-22 employee compensation plan.
Need to table that until next board meeting.
Okay. Got a motion to table that to our next board meeting. Is that the 19th, or is that?
Not-
19th?
The second reading.
26.
26.
That gives me a little bit more time.
26th.
I'll give y'all,
If I could interject too, I didn't catch it, but the 26th is actually municipal court at 7:45. So I just wanted to see if you maybe could do the budget meeting at the visitor center. Cameo was gonna check in the morning to see if it's available, but the 26th, you'll have municipal court here, starts at 7:45. There's really nowhere else for them to go.
That's fine, wherever we got an open space, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, we'll
I guess
explore
if not visitor
location.
center, I guess,
Yeah.
maybe McKinney,
Right.
or just,
So we'd have to advertise it anyways.
right,
Chucky Depot.
Yeah.
check a depot. Check with the railroad if it's okay.
All right, Alderman, we
Actually,
got,
they've been very
uh,
nice with, strike that from the record.
All right, Virginia, is anything you want to address in that, or is that, do I need to get a second to table that no, the 26th?
Just waiting on them to come back with a
Okay.
new plan.
Okay. All right, we got a motion and second to table the discussion on the compensation plan till the 26th. Any discussion? Call for the vote, Madam Recorder.
Alderman Causey.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Callahan. Alderman Dixon.
Aye.
All right, and I think that's everything there, and we will be back on the 19th. All right, thank you, Alderman.
Thank you.
Thank you.